Mookie Betts.
Welcome, everyone, to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It's great to be here with all of you today. We have an exciting show in store. Quite a shocker last night as far as the score was concerned with the MLB, possibly not the result. I mean, at some point, the Dodgers have to start winning. But as always, you're alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. We're just getting our links out here, make sure we can get as many people watching as possible. But, Gavin, how are you doing today?
I'm ecstatic, Zach. I'm thrilled to be here today. Well, not saying I'm never thrilled to be here, but unless we were talking. Well, I'm lying, Zach. There was one that wasn't thrilled to be here, and that was when the Lakers won the championship. But, Zach, I'm ecstatic. I'm thrilled to be here. You're going to find out why. But, Zach, how are you today?
I'm doing great. We got a lot going on in the sports world to go over today. Tomorrow we'll be previewing the Eagles Thursday Night Football. That'll be exciting to go over. But for today, we're going to be talking about first the World Series. Gavin, are you ready to get to it?
Yeah, I am. And Zach, I can't hold back my excitement. Did y'all see the best player in baseball last night? Did you see him, Zach?
Mookie Betts, best player in baseball?
Yeah, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, damn it, you guys must be living on a rock. Mookie Betts, everybody. Mookie Betts. Zach, go ahead. What did Mookie Betts do last night? Go ahead, just tell me.
2 steals, an absolutely great game, not only offensively, defensively, he continued to step up. But let's get to it. Let's talk about Game 1. As Gavin mentioned, nothing but ecstatic. The Los Angeles Dodgers winning Game 1 by a score of 8-3. There's a little bit of life for the Rays in the 7th inning, but that's it. Gavin, I can get you on tape. You're making fun of Clayton Kershaw, and I mean, rightfully so. He's not. But how about that outing for Clayton Kershaw? I know we'll see him again. We don't know how good he'll be, but how about that? That was a great game for him. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, I think. It was a pretty damn good
strikeouts too. 8 to 9 strikeouts.
Pretty damn good outing. Clayton Kershaw answered to the critics yesterday, and the offense was explosive from the start. You get 2 runs early. You follow that up with 6 more throughout the rest of the game. You finish that game 8-3. Gavin, that was nothing short of an amazing performance for that Dodgers team. And the Rays look shell-shocked. They don't know what hit them. And they put one of their best pitchers out there last night. You still have a lot of good pitchers, but if this offense of the Dodgers is able to expose their better pitchers early and often, there's a good chance that the Dodgers can actually pull away with their first World Series win in a long time, actually, despite the fact they've been in the World Series for the 4th time now in 5 years.
Well, Zach, you talked about Clayton Kershaw, and yes, he did have a pretty damn good outing. He silenced people like me and you last night. Or did he? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if I recall, the offense is the real reason why he kind of won. They gave up he didn't give up a lot of runs. That's to keep it Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs, Zach, is not about how many runs he gives up, it's how many runs can he score before people start to figure his stuff out. Zach, this is not the same Clayton Kershaw from, years past, that Cy Young winner and 20 wins and all this stuff, give or take that this season was kind of short, so nobody really got to 20 wins this year. But Zach, Clayton Kershaw looked like he was back last night. All right, he did. He looked the same way versus the Milwaukee Brewers. We went 8 strong innings. But my question for you, Zach, is can he keep it up? Back spasms has always been his worst enemy these past 2 to 3 years. All right, last year he wasn't the best pitcher on the Dodgers. Hyun-Jin Ryu was, or Hyun-Jin Ryu, however you want to say it. And the year before that, you can make a case to say Walker Buehler was the best guy, and then Clayton Kershaw was. It's like I said, when he pitches, is how far he can go before he starts giving up runs. Last night, Cody Bellinger started the game off with a 2-run bomb, and then Kevin Kiermaier answered back for the Rays. Then you got the GOAT, Mookie Betts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the GOAT. 2 steals. Guys, get your tacos on next Wednesday. 2nd and 3rd on the same play, the same guy. And then he started an offensive explosion after that. Then he homered, Zach. He homered after that. And people talk about, well, Mookie Betts doesn't look efficient in the playoffs. Shut up, everybody. He did it defensively. He's getting runs scored, and he's also been scoring runs by people in as well. Zach, what can this guy not do? But back to Clayton Kershaw, he looked good, but can he continue it? That's the real question.
Yeah, I mean, It's one game. It's what he needs. You have 7 games. You're going to see him 3, arguably 4 times. That's stretching it. But if he gets an inning visit here and there, he possibly could. He gets a few. Probably game 3 is probably available again. I'd say game 3, game 4, which we're looking at Friday and possibly into the weekend. I think we can make a legit case here that Clayton Kershaw will be back, and I think they're going to give him the right regimens. They're going to give him the right rest from the health wise, from his medical side with his back spasms. He did his job last night, and if he does his job, but more importantly, I think that we are overlooking the offense. 8 runs, Gavin, against the Tampa Bay Rays. That's your key. That's what you have to do. The Rays, they live by the long ball, and similar to the Houston Rockets living by the 3, all you got to do is shut them down from the home run side 4 games out of 7. And it's going to take 5, arguably 6. I said Dodgers and 6. But I do think that the Rays are going to be hot a few games. But you got to keep in mind, their bread and butter is their pitching staff. And the Dodgers dismantled that yesterday. And if they do that again, it's a pretty clear path for them to win the World Series.
They tore up Tyler Glasnow. He's not a slouch. Tonight is Blake Snell, who's fan favorite of the show. He's not a slouch either. And then you got Charlie Morton the other day, and then this bullpen. Phillies take notes. This bullpen is something to rave about. Last night you couldn't see their best arms because they were losing. Why would you waste your best arms when you're losing? Zach, the one thing about this Dodgers offense that the Braves has never seen is they strike from anywhere.
Yeah,
anywhere.
They hit for contact. They're a contact hitting team, and if they get the home runs, it's great. But they're not a team that lives and dies by the home run the same way that arguably the Phillies too live and die by the home run, but also in this case the Tampa Bay Rays, because like I said, the pitching is there. The pitching is what their bread and butter. It's what they have. But at the same time, you take a look at their home runs. If they're not hitting home runs, they're in a bad position. And they got to where they are now. Would they have gotten there in a full regular season? I don't think so. I think it would have neutralized. I think if the Yankees were healthier, they would have given them a bigger run for their money during the regular season. I know in the playoffs it was a different story for New York, but Tampa was barely able to escape both series. Like, legitimately speaking, they were up 3-0 against Houston. And they slipped and they got tired. They got fatigued. And that last game, they gave it all they had. Last night, you saw the fatigue again. It's just been a lot of strain on them, Gavin. I can't see this team the same way that Golden State, I know you're going to hate me for this, but the same way Golden State had the energy to come out against the Oklahoma City Thunder and they got up 3-1. I'm sorry, they came back from being down 3-1. The exhaustion showed later in that series against the Cavaliers. It's the same thing in this case. When you're up 3-0 and you go down to 3-3, you're scared. You give it all you have for baseball. And what, 2-day turnaround, 3-day turnaround? We're not talking about a week, 2 weeks for a Super Bowl like with football. We're talking about days. And it showed last night for that Rays team, not only defensively because the pitching was a struggle, but offensively as well. 3 runs is not going to be enough to win any game against this Dodgers offense.
Well, you saw what happened with the Braves, Zach. Even if your offense is off to a hot start, this Dodgers offense will always strike at any time when needed. Zach, the Braves were up, and correct me if I was wrong. The Braves were up 3-0 at one point, right? In the game.
In Game 7.
In Game 7,
yes.
They were up. And then the Dodgers just came back and made it look they were never winning.
Yeah,
what offense does that?
Second. They strike at any second.
Any second, any part of the line. Anyone in that line where you're looking at Edwin Rios or Chris Taylor and or Will Smith. And the reason why I named those guys, because they're not Max Muncy, they're not Corey Seager, not Mookie Betts, they're not Cody Bellinger, they're not Justin Turner. The reason I named those guys specifically is they're the dangerous ones in the lineup because they're the ones that get on base and set it up for the big fish, if you want to call it like that. It's like these guys, Chris Taylor and the crew, they get on base and they do their job well. They do their job well. And it's like they score runs as well. Look at Will Smith. He hit what was it, a single that scored Justin Turner, I think.
But also, and then look in Game 7 defensively too, Corey Seager. That defensive effort from that team, they're just a good team on all sides. They were down 3-1 in that series, so they got to be exhausted too, right? So it goes the other way. They were up 3-1. They were down 3-1. They came back from being down 3-1, and they have a strong start. Will they start to fatigue at some point when the Rays get strong? These are questions we don't know. But if you have to talk about consistency, if you have to talk about what team can replicate their actions, their play style again and again, I got to go with the Dodgers 9 times out of 10.
The championship DNA, even though the Dodgers never won one, but their experience of being there, they know you got to give it your all. The Rays haven't been there in a while, and this is a young Rays team that arguably, like, if you think about it, I don't think they were supposed to be there in the beginning of the year. Only a couple of people picked them, but I wasn't one of those guys. You're right, Zach. Fatigue will set in for the Dodgers, but Once again, the fatigue set in for the Dodgers in Game 7, and then they turned it on. And like they just turned it on out of nowhere. So they flipped this way. It's like Jimmy Butler in clutch time. He was tired all game against the Boston Celtics, the last regular season game. He was tired, and what do? He hits the clutch shots, and yet
It's that championship DNA. The Dodgers
exactly.
outlasted the Braves because of that DNA, I'd say. I think
Even
you
though
can
they
probably
didn't
agree
win,
on that.
even though they didn't win, when you go 4 times the last 5 years, that you're technically a champion. You got championship DNA.
You got deep playoff DNA, I guess I'd say. But what kind of difference is it making now, Gavin? I got to ask about the fans being there because there are fans in Arlington. There are a good amount of fans there. For some of these younger guys, these Rays team who's comfortable from playing all year in quieter stadiums, could that be making a difference too?
I don't think so. It doesn't help that majority of the fans there look like to be Dodgers fans because LA and Arlington not that far away. Vice versa, Tampa and Arlington, where you have to travel by air. When you're going from LA to Arlington, you can travel by car. But you could make the case that saying the fans, but that might be the trick. But the Dodgers have been playing with fans for like the past 3 series. So you could say, yeah, well, they're used to it now. But let me get this straight. If fans really bother you or really mess up your play style, and it could, what makes it different from last year when you had fans there?
Well, it makes it different because you're used to no fans this year. And some of the younger guys who debuted this year, that might be all they know.
That might be all. You're right. That might be all they know. But
That's my opinion why the Miami Heat went so far. I can't see Tyler Hero. I mean, nothing against the kid, but he's young. He's new to this stage. I can't see
Tyler Hero. If you want to go to basketball, Tyler Hero stepped up in big moments when asked.
Yeah, but there was no crowd to affect him. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. There was no crowd.
We don't know.
There's also no travel. Remember, the Dodgers didn't travel.
Much respect for him.
The Dodgers haven't traveled at all.
Exactly.
The Dodgers been a home team.
That's tough. Going from LA to Tampa would be a big difference. And I think that's where the championship DNA comes in. Who's used to that level of immense travel?
Think about it.
The Dodgers went from Houston back to LA. They went LA to Boston for an entire series. I mean, there's a lot that you can argue here.
And then you got to think about too, Zach. Think about the Dodgers. The Dodgers went from their own stadium to Arlington versus the Padres, right? And then they versed the Braves, and now they're versing the Rays. They have not left Arlington, Texas at all. Where you got a team like you could say, okay, well, the Braves came from Houston. All right, that's still travel. All right, and then you got the guys. The Padres came from what was that? Their own stadium, San Diego, and then as well the Rays. So the Dodgers are the home team. This is their home stadium now.
Yeah, fans, it's going to make a difference. One thing that we're all going to see, if you ever go back and watch World Series replays, you don't realize how big of an impact, even the NBA Finals, how big of an impact fans are until they're gone.
It's all about them big moments when the home runs, right? And you got like Carlos Correa's home run went by. It was like back page news because no one knew about it because no one was jumping around. So the fans have a big impact.
Without a doubt. Well, that wraps up today's World Series talk. Game 2 is tonight. We'll see how that goes. Tonight is baseball and baseball alone, unless I see any other sports going on tomorrow, obviously, is the beginning of Week 7 of the NFL. Almost halfway done. Surprised that we're going this far. I know Gavin is. But is there already drama brewing up in Dallas about their head coach? We'll cover that after this.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
You know the drama. It's in Dallas. Gavin, apparently there's been some leaked information going on as far as some people talking in that locker room that they don't like Mike McCarthy. They think he's not prepared. Mike McCarthy came out today and said, if you have something to say it to my face.
That's not what you want to hear from a coach.
That is not in any way whatsoever what you want to hear in Dallas. What is going on? They're in first place, by the way. Their defense is terrible. We know that. Their head coach has just been hired. They fired one. Your starting quarterback, who was playing great. I know it's a lot of catching up from behind. Just went down with a season-ending injury. So, Gavin, I got to ask, because I know you're happy. As an Eagles fan, we're pretty happy to see this. I know the Eagles have their own drama that we cover on weeks.
Can't be too happy because we're not that great over here.
But I do have to ask you this important question: what kind of drama we're looking at in Dallas, and could they already be preparing to look at a new coaching staff?
Well, Zach, you can't be preparing to look at the new coaching staff because you know what? They cost too much. Everybody on this coaching staff costs a lot. And if Jerry Jones is like, all right, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, that's going to hurt him in his pockets. And you know Jerry Jones don't like his pockets hurting. So it's like, quick story, right? If there's drama, right, and this is like, you know, going back to Antonio Brown, it affects everybody. And the reason why I'm bringing this story up is because think of it from a school perspective, Zach. If there was drama with one peer and another peer, and you and that peer are friends with this peer and also with the other peer, you're also technically part of the drama now as well. But how does that make you feel, Zach? It would make you feel stressed out because you want to take this side or you want to take on this side. Well, Mike McCarthy said, yeah, you know, you got something to say to my face. All right, that's cool. But if you're supposed to be the leader of this team, right, that's not what you want to hear. That's not what you want to come out and say to the media. You can come out and say whatever you want. Freedom of speech, Zach, am I right? But here's the thing. You just lost your offensive leader, people that respect and play hard for. All right? You just got embarrassed by Kyler Murray, who won't
In your own stadium.
In your own stadium. Technically not his. He's undefeated in that stadium, Zach. I don't know if you know that, but
I did. Yep, high school, college, and now the NFL.
High school, college, and NFL. And you come out and say, if you got something to say it to my face. That's all right. But once you come out, I wouldn't have said that publicly. Maybe I would say that behind the scenes and be like, is there something y'all want to say right here, right now? A little intervention, right, Zach? Because
that's how you should do it. That's how a good coach would handle it. You figure out the years in Green Bay, he'd know how to do that.
Well, the Aaron Rodgers that were like them too. That was the reason why. You remember that story, Zach, where Aaron Rodgers changed the play just to make him look bad? So, Zach, before I
wonder why I question the Packers and Aaron Rodgers as a player there, but you know what? That's for another day.
Well, yeah, for another day for sure. But Zach, before I hand it to you, I just want to say this. These are these things that don't need to come publicly. Like LeBron James with the Arthur Fist, Zach. You remember I was against it. You don't show your frustration to the public. You got to go behind the scenes. Go to the general manager. In Mike McCarthy's case, go to your team.
Who's the general manager? You see your problem? You see your problem right there?
Are you talking about for LeBron James? You talking about Jerry Jones?
For Jerry Jones.
Oh yes, Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones. With Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones.
That's a problem. They talk too much. They talk to the media way too much. I have to say that right now. For an owner, for a GM, you talk to the media way too much. You should not be readily. If you're a GM, you should not be readily available for an interview after every game. That's just my opinion.
Well, look at Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman doesn't talk. Neither does
he has one press conference a year. In my opinion, that's enough for a GM. I don't want to see
one or two. Maybe one before the season and maybe one after the season.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's all you need.
And the owner, same thing. Maybe after the season.
Yeah, Jeff Gilgore does look to speak at the end of the year, but I think here there's a lot of issues going on in Dallas. There's a lot of drama. So now the ultimate question is: was Jason Garrett really the issue, or was he the scapegoat for a bigger hole?
I think Jason Garrett was the issue. Talking to John Warner, a great friend of the show, and talking to other Cowboys fans, training and all of those. They all wanted Jason Garrett gone. Jason Garrett wasn't a great coach. Now, if you're an Eagles fan, you wanted to see him stay because everybody loved the slow clap because that means they were going to lose, Zach. But you cannot ignore Kellen Moore has not called the best plays sometimes. Hasn't put his guys in the best position. Is Mike McCarthy a great coach for the team? At first, I thought so, but then I'm like, I don't believe so. Zach, I don't think Jason Garrett was the problem, is what I'm trying to say. He wasn't 100% the problem. Maybe when it came to the calls and during the game, maybe. But behind the scenes,
he wasn't the play caller. That's the thing. Like you keep your same offensive play caller, and the offensive play caller stays the same, and the offense looks similar. Slow starts and a lot of catch up,
and a lot of turnovers. Zach, turnovers have been from the starters, from Dak Prescott and Zeke. Zeke had 2 fumbles.
Zeke. I don't know what's up with Zeke.
Well, Zach, I'll tell you, if I was playing somebody fantasy last week, I would have lost my mind because I had him starting.
You got to buy last week. I'm undefeated.
And you're $90 million.
Yeah, without a doubt, $90 million is not worth it, in my opinion, especially with Tony Pollard in that backfield. But that's going to wrap up our section here on the Cowboys. Coming up next, there are some big names surfacing as part of the wide receiver trade market. Is this finally the year where the Eagles can get a legit wide receiver one?
That's
Talk about
funny.
that
That's
after
funny.
this.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
There's some big names surfacing, Gavin. Who are the top 3 best receivers in the league, in your opinion? Top 3 off the top of your head, any particular order?
Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of those guys right now. One of them was on the trade block, obviously, in the offseason, DeAndre Hopkins. There are rumors surfacing about Julio Jones possibly being on the trade block. I mean, I would argue that he's the best receiver in the league when it comes to all around. When it comes to short routes and physicality, I would give it to Michael Thomas, of course. And when it comes to just catchability, range of motion, I give it to DeAndre Hopkins. Comes to speed, Tyreek Hill, obviously. There's different ways to rate these wide receivers.
What would you think of OBJ? What would you think of OBJ? Because I think OBJ is getting in the fast category now.
He's getting up towards top 5 again. He's getting back to where he was because he's a great route runner. He's got speed. So as far as that's concerned, when you take a look at that, the first person you named was Julio Jones, who's on the trade block, arguably. And why wouldn't he be on the trade block? It's time for the Falcons to tank. Take a look at what Miami did. Miami held on to an average team for a few years. They were 7-9, 9-7 some years. Ryan Tannehill was good. He's better now in Tennessee, obviously. So what do? They trade their quarterback. They fire Adam Gase and hire a new coach, Brian Flores, begin building a culture. They trade away their entire team pretty much last year. Traded away Laramie Tunsil in the offseason last year. They trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick during the season last year. And you make a whole lot of moves. You get a lot of first-round picks. You had 3 first-round picks, I'm pretty sure they had. They invested 1 on offensive line, 1 defensively, and 1 on, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa, who will be starting next week for them. So, you fire Adam Gase, which we hate Adam Gase, by the way. I think firing Adam Gase is the first step to a successful tank. And now look at Miami. They're a half game out of first place, and they could arguably make a push for the playoffs this year. All that turnaround happened in 1 year. Atlanta can do it. You got to suck it up for a year. You got to trade your big piece. I would keep Calvin Ridley, obviously. But I think you can trade Julio Jones, and you can get a lot for Julio Jones. You can trade Matt Ryan. You can definitely get some value for him. Start building a defense, start building an offense, and go get a new coach, embed a culture, and get started on it. Because why would you hold on to a 500 record every year? Wouldn't you rather be good?
Well, they were below 500 last year, Zach. I won't put that out there. They were arguably doing worse this year than they did last year. They might be doing the same. But when I look at this Falcons team, you're right. Get my man Julio out of there. You know what? Give Carson Wentz, Julio Jones. Give him 1 receiver, damn it, and he'll be actually good. He'll be even better, Zach. Maybe we'll put this Jalen Hurts conversation to rest. If you're the Falcons for sake, you want to keep a guy in Calvin Ridley because that's going to be good. And Harry Gage is also stepped up. I like Todd Gurley. I think Todd Gurley has a little bit left there. Why don't you start building an offense for, let's say, a so-called Justin Fields, right? Go get Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to be an amazing quarterback, and it looks like he would be the guy for Atlanta in the future. If you think about this defense was at one point elite. And I know it's crazy to say that, but they're garbage. They can't stop anybody right now. They couldn't even stop me. And I Zach, I'm not the quickest, you know that. But they couldn't even stop me. But Zach, I want to say this. What would you think about a potential trade for Julio Jones, and what would you give up for him to be here?
They'd want picks. That's all they would want, honestly. Maybe they can get Jalen Hurts, honestly. I wonder if that would be something they'd be considering to start him and see if he could be worth it there. But they would probably want at least 2 first-round picks and possibly a guy like Boston Scott.
I mean, would you be okay with getting rid of Boston Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Boston Scott, but if you can get me Julio Jones, who even though he's in the age of 31, 32, I'd still take any Julio any day of the week.
Now, Julio's still got 4 years left of legit production, in my opinion.
5. I think 5 more years left. 5. It goes to show this year that they don't really need Julio Jones. They keep throwing the ball at Calvin Ridley. I don't know if that's Matt Ryan's new favorite target. But Zach, I want to ask you, AJ Green, is he on the trade block, yes or no?
First 6th rounder, 5th or 6th rounder. He is on the
Fifth or
trade block.
sixth?
Yes, he probably is on the trade block. So is
John
what the
Ross.
name is, John Ross. I would take John Ross for a 5th or 6th rounder. Honestly, I don't
John
love him
Ross is
because of
a
the
dog
injuries.
to my
I don't love it because of the injuries, but it is a somewhat experienced receiver, and this team desperately needs that.
I take Julio Jones first. AJ Green, it's crazy. AJ Green used to be top 5 wide receiver, man. AJ Green used to be top 5 in injuries and
What happens? You battle injuries, and that's what starts to kind of take you away. Deshaun Jackson was good with the Buccaneers. He was
when you
good game
battle
one last year.
injuries and you battle injuries, Zach, and you battle a guy named Andy Dalton, of course you're not gonna be top 5 no more after that.
You
I
got Joe Burrow now, and he had a good AJ Green had a good week last week, so maybe he'll stay around. But they'll see what happens. I think that it's definitely tough. The Bengals, another team last year who inadvertently tanked. I'm not sure if that was their intention or not. Once they benched Andy Dalton, you kind of knew that's what they were doing. They got Joe Burrow, and they turned it around really quick. In football, you can make some moves in the offseason, and you can have some legit success with a 1-year turnaround. Again, think Miami. Think all these other teams as far as Miami and Cincinnati. And if the Jets decide to do something at some point, they can potentially
well,
be
the
there.
Jets are a dumpster fire, Zach.
Yeah, right now the Jets are probably in the top option for Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be successful there if he has no running back. And no disrespect to Frank Gore, but he's older. No running back, no line, no defense, bad coach. I can't imagine Trevor Lawrence has success there either.
If you are Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, you're like anywhere but the Jets. I can't even say the Giants because the Giants have a nice offense when if everybody's there and healthy.
Yeah, Giants honestly do have a good offense.
Anywhere but the Jets, really. And you could argue make the case and say I don't know what another team. Maybe Detroit. Detroit. I would start thinking it's time for Detroit to almost rebuild pretty soon, or give up on Matt Stafford. Waste of talent, my honest opinion.
Well, it's not Stafford's fault. It's just really bad timing. They went to the playoffs with Calvin Johnson before they got crushed by Seattle. Just happens. He has probably one of the strongest arms in the league. It's just unfortunate the way that the cookies crumbled.
I mean, I like Matt Stafford. I have nothing against him. He makes things
He could
happen.
go somewhere and possibly do something for them. I mean, what team could use a veteran? I could see him going to the Colts after Philip Rivers' experiment is over.
But listen, Phil Rivers should never had another job as a starter. Look at him. 1 week he didn't even look that hot last week versus the
No, he's
Bengals.
supposed to be a game manager. We went over this. I mean, that's what they put themselves in a position to do.
If you're a team like the Colts where you have pieces, yes, you want a game manager, but you also want a guy that can go out and do it. That's why I like Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett wasn't elite.
Brissett was good till he got hurt last year.
That's true. That is true.
That's what's unfortunate. I think if you had another reset this year, they could have given him another chance. But I think they were ready to kind of get someone they had confidence that could come in and do something for them, and they felt that a guy like Philip Rivers, a pure pocket passer with a good O-line, could do that.
I mean, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You need a pure pocket passer. You gave Phil Rivers arguably a great offensive line. I think maybe even offensive some days. But Zach, I just think at the end of the year, Matt Ryan will be a Colt or Matt Stafford will be a Colt by the end of next year or at the end of the season.
We'll see what happens. We got 10 days. 10 days for the trade deadline. It's going to be exciting. We'll have some coverage for that on our show. With that being said, that does wrap up today's show. We hope everybody enjoyed some of the new changes that we've made as we continue to try to provide more for this show, despite the fact these are some only half-hour shows. But we do got to get some guests on and begin with our GOAT debate again because I know that people are asking for it and they want it.
Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not on Jordan's side, don't come on the show because I'm not trying to hear no LeBron fans on
Just
my.
don't want to hear the facts,
It's
but
bad
all right,
enough, it's bad enough I have to deal with you for 30 minutes playing. But listen, yeah, come on. Hit us up. Hit me or Zach up on the show or DM us or anywhere you want to reach us. Come join us. We would love to. If you think you can debate me in the Michael Jordan debate, if you're against Jordan, well, you're against me too, and you don't want to hear from me.
Oh boy.
We're going to be getting back to our hours pretty soon. We're figuring out this new schedule and
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's tough right now, but especially going to next week and the week after that, we'll be figuring it out. Next week, I know we definitely will get in at least 3-hour shows.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to figure out, Gavin, we should definitely, if we're going to do a pregame tomorrow or something along those lines for Thursday Night Football between the Eagles and the Giants. Stay tuned. We're doing predictions and more tomorrow, probably same time. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today, and have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody. Mookie Betts is the GOAT.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.